Do you love roses? One of my favorite flowers. And today I'm going to show you how to use a rose serviette or napkin and decoupage that onto a tin. These are just food tins that we've actually had at home, cleaned out nicely and coated with a paint, just a white coat of acrylic paint or a craft paint so that the background is nice and light. You'll find that your serviettes are generally made up of several different layers, and we want to be able to use just the top layer of the serviette, which you can see is very, very transparent. So if you had a dark color underneath, or even just the silver of a tin, it would show through that. So I've now separated all the layers of my serviette, and I've torn them up into pieces so that I've got manageable size pieces with design on it. And I'm going to show you now how to apply this to the tin to create a nice shabby chic look for this particular one. Some of the edges of my serviette, I must just point out, have this little red stripe, which I don't really want to have as part of my design. I think it will be something that will just detract. So what I've done beforehand is just to tear away all of this red stripe so that I don't have that interfering. I'm using a nice soft bristled brush because I don't want to tear the serviettes, and I'm going to be gluing them down using podge. So to begin with, I'm just going to paint some podge onto this tin. The white undercoat paint doesn't need to be beautifully done. You don't need to do 2 or 3 layers. It just needs to be able to cover it. And then I'm going to use my serviette, gently stick it on. We want to be ever so gentle when you are actually brushing it on, that you are not tearing it. So don't use your bristles with a heavy hand, because otherwise you will just push them straight through the serviette. Always make sure that you're comfortable so you can actually turn your container around and apply that as you go. For this particular design, I probably won't cover the whole of the tin with roses. I'm going to just do parts of it. So keeping my focal points nice, I've obviously got some really nice big rose designs, and then there's some little buds. I'm going to put the bigger ones on first so that I can actually enjoy those, and then just fill up with some of the others in between. So the serviettes will start to wrinkle once you start applying the podge. That is absolutely normal. Don't worry about it too much. Don't try and overwork them, because you will stand the chance of tearing the serviette. The idea is just to keep the serviette moist and to also work fairly quickly from the center outwards, and you will find that that's okay. Even if your serviette has had creases before you start, you will find that once you put the glue on, that the creases just disappear. So always just keep it slightly moist on the surface as you are smoothing it out, and this will help get it to adhere nicely, and also to make sure that it doesn't tear. So you can see I'm actually covering this fairly quickly, and I'm going to put one more big one in just to fill up this big space, and then I might use some leaves or some buds for some of the other spaces in between. Even if your podge hasn't covered your surface completely, you're going to find that because the actual serviette is so thin that the actual podge will go straight through it as you're brushing it. So just position these roses as you find them pleasing to the eye, and then work fairly quickly just to get them to stick down. Always brush from the center outwards. You stand less chance of tearing it. If you start from the outside edges, you could actually very easily just lift the design up. Now I have got some areas where I could fill in with smaller little flowers, maybe perhaps there. You don't have to cover the whole thing, but as I say, you have got the serviette, you might as well use what you have. And even if you do overlap over some of the design that's been previously put down, it doesn't matter, because that's very translucent, so it will show through. Okay, we're nearly done, and I mean, this is a really quick project to do. Let's find a nice little bud like this one maybe. I'm going to just glue this down. I have got a slight kink here, so I'm just going to use my brush to lift it up, and that's by far the easiest. If you start using your fingers, you're going to find that very quickly you can end up quite a sticky mess. Podge can be very sticky, so I prefer to use the brush when I can. And then just around the top area here, I'm going to try and just link up some things here roughly as a stem might be. It might have a little bud that I could put in, like this little one here. And here you need to just maybe use your eye to see if you can actually make it a little bit more realistic. But as I said, it doesn't matter if some of the white shows through. In this particular tin that I'm doing, I'm not trying to cover the whole surface. I think I'm more or less done. Maybe just put a bud here off the stem. Trying to match it up here. There we go. All right, so the last thing to do once you've actually done that is just to smooth out your podge so that you don't have any really thick areas that will dry as a lump. I'm going to leave this little bit here unglued, because at the end, once it's dry, I'm going to just cut that off with a pair of scissors. I don't really want this going onto the inside of my tin, and I'm just making sure it's all nicely smooth, the podge. And then I will set it aside to dry. It won't take very long to dry in summer. Maybe in winter you could put it next to a heater or so, but you can see it's actually very easy to do. Then the last thing that I'm going to do with this, once it's completely dry, is just to stick down some lace at the top just to give it a nice edge. I think that that will look rather pretty. If you were to do this kind of technique with a different kind of serviette, something that's maybe got a bolder pattern, like this one here that I've torn up, you will find that on this tin, just to show you, I didn't paint the background color, so it gives you a much darker effect. But for this one, I'm going to use a nice funky lime green ribbon at the top here, just to offset these nice lime tones that we have in between. These are lovely for pencil holders, for paintbrushes, for knickknacks, whatever you might have, and a fun project to get involved with children because it's so easy for them to actually do. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'd love to hear from you. You can leave comments in the comment section. Please like or subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to being with you quite soon in another video. Bye for now.